Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up, episode 36, New Warriors. My introduction to New Warriors. I've read comics that have had these characters in them. I'm an Avengers guy, so I know Vance Astrovic and I know Firestar. I also know Nova. I remember my brother giving me the first Nova comic when I was a little kid. I'm familiar, kind of Night Thrasher 90s character, but I hadn't read this book, so I knew it. And Namorita, because I've read some Submariner, and I know the character. But I've never read the series. Came out in the 90s, 89. I probably read the Thor, 2 issues of Thor that I'm going to talk to you about, 411, 412. Because my brother got Thor, and if he had some sitting around, I would read an arc or two while I was sitting there. It's the Tom Defalco, Ron Frenz era, which is just freaking great. I love it. I'm a huge Ron Frenz fan, and his Marvel stuff is just amazing. His Superman stuff, I love it. Just some big Ron Frenz. If you like Sal Buscemi, you like Ron Frenz. At least that's the way I see it. They're very similar in style and energy to me, and I really dig it. So what I'm going to do is I've gotten this past week I got in the mail from cheapgraphicnovels.com a supposedly dinged copy. The ding is, I can barely see it. I guess that's what it is. I don't even know if it's a ding, but I got it for a very reasonable price. And it came in the mail. And I just literally just finished reading what would have been in the first trade, which is the first 6 issues and the 2-part Thor where they really first appeared in, because those came out in late 89, and then number 1 came out, and the way the omnibus has it as is New Warriors 1, Thor 411 and 412, and then 2 through 6. So I'm going to kind of go through them very quickly, each issue, but I want to talk first about the characters. This is a youth-oriented team. It is 5 existing characters and 1 new character. Nova, we'll start with Nova because I probably know him the best. Well, I knew him the best. I thought the Nova series was okay. It was never anything that I got to read Richard Rider's stuff. It jumped in and out of it. It was okay. He's called Kid Nova at the beginning and has a new color scheme, which is reddish brown and gold. There's nothing wrong with the Nova costume, and eventually I know he goes back to it, and the Kid Nova is silly. But it is what it is. They were trying to do, this is in the era after post-Teen Titans and X-Men, and then that's what Marvel's trying to create another one. Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz were trying to create another one. Firestar, I know her from the Spidey and Amazing Friends, and then, X-Men, she was a hellion, and but I really didn't read X-Men at this point. I kind of had fallen off. But she and Vance Astrovic, I know really more about, because one, I read the Thing team-up book where the kid version of him really kind of is introduced, and his psychic abilities are triggered earlier than originally. Because in his original origin, which I covered in the very first episode of this with the very first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy, is his psionic ability didn't trigger really until he'd been an astronaut as an adult and gone into the future, and had been in suspended animation 1,000 years. But him coming back in the past during the Kovacs saga in the Avengers kind of triggered his abilities, and I think that happened in a Marvel 2-in-1. So he was in a lot because they were in the 70s, the Thing and Captain America went. The Guardians had a history. And then I read the Valentino 90s run, which is, I will eventually cover it here. My urge would be to cover every issue one at a time like I am with Legion and Defenders, but I'm not doing a third one of those right now, so I'll probably do arcs. So I know, and then I know him when he took the name Justice, and him and Firestar joined the Avengers in the Busiek Perez run, and they were great members of that. Namorita, I've read enough Submariner to know who she is, but I think I'm going to get a better education reading this series, and it's in the trusty hands of Fabian Nicieza and Mark Bagley, which I will get to that when I start talking about the stories. Speedball was a character created by Ditko Roger Stern. He was first introduced in Amazing Spider-Man 22, Annual 22. And he has had they really screwed up his character in the Bad Avengers arc. I will talk about that later. It was during the Initiative, or when the first Civil War secret, Civil War storyline, which is good in some ways, and really messed up some really good characters in a bad way. I find a lot of the events during the Bendis Avengers run problematic in a storytelling wise. I like Bendis. I think he can write a good comic. I think Ultimate Spider-Man is genius. I think the first arc on his Legion of Superheroes was really good. Second arc sucked, or it was just adequate. I don't want to say sucked, just adequate. I think his Alias stuff is amazing. His Young Justice run he just recently did was freaking fun. I just think sometimes he overthinks it, but that's it's a personal preference. People hate. I've heard a lot of visceral disgust at him, and a lot of love. I love Powers. Powers was great. Okay, so he is as good as his reputation. He can. Okay, I'm going to say it this way. He can live up to a reputation that he has. Do I think he is always at that level of the people who think highly of him think? No, I don't. I think he really misses a lot sometimes, and I think it's out of just biting off more than you can chew. Because I think his characterizations are fine, but we're not dealing with Michael Bendis today. We're going to be dealing with someone who I really admire. So I'm just going to do an overview of it's 8 issues. It's 6 of theirs and 2 of Thor's. They originally appeared in 1989 in Thor 411, and in the omnibus it said they do that as the second and third issues. When I read it, it was New Warriors 1, then Thor 411, 412, and then New Warriors 2 through 6. And that is it's one arc, but it's really like 3 adventures. The first issue is them getting together as Night Thrasher recruiting them, and then you get to see their first real battle, which is it's the Axe of Vengeance, and Loki has sent Juggernaut to Queens to fight to draw out the Thor. Thor is alive and well, but he's living in the body of a human, he's sharing space, I guess, with an EMT called Eric Masterson, and who will become Thunderbolt. No, Thunderstrike. Later, he will. So it's this nice, fun. They come and they ended up helping him, and they team up with Thor. It's beautiful. It's Ron Frenz and Joe Sinnott doing the art. And it's Al Williamson. It's Mark Bagley and Al Williamson on the first couple issues of New Warriors, and he's really good with Mark Bagley's art, and I really love Mark Bagley's art, and it's really good even here, or I guess this is early in his career. But Larry Mahlstadt come in with issue 3, and I'm a huge Larry Mahlstadt fan. He inked Giffen, Lytle, and I think Greg LaRocque in Legion. All 3 of them great Legion artists. All 3 of them great artists. He really it's a nice polish to Bagley's work. This is a dark 90s comic, so 5 of these characters have been around and had their own books or short series or been in other comics. Night Thrasher is that new gritty 90s character, and his origin is his parents were killed. He has 2 guardians, Mr. McCord and Ty, who is there is a little bit of that maybe not modern day problematic wise. I don't know. I have to read more to see if there's some, sometimes there's some Asian stereotypes in comics, even with the best of intentions, come out a little racist. So I'm waiting to see how that goes. Her and McCord have kind of raised Dwayne, who is the Night Thrasher, but he has some gritty street cred. He had been working with a brother and sister. And you see this in some of the flashbacks, and they battle him. The brother becomes a character called Midnight Fire, and his sister was wounded months ago in a botched, I guess, sting operation. The 3 of them were running, and she got shot, and now she is in the cliffhanger. In one issue is that she's shot, and you think she's dead, but she shows up in the second part and is disgusted by that her brother is now killing police officers because he's so damaged from her getting hurt and all the crime they've been fighting. So it's okay. It's very 90s. It's the beginning. It's also very comic booky, kind of origin. Um, and but I like the characters so far. I really enjoy it. I think Fabian Nicieza and Bagley are giving the characters personality. I think right now my favorite characters in these first 8 parts is probably Vance and Namorita. And I do kind of like, I've seen myself liking Speedball. But they end up, there's a company called Gentech who has, its director was a rejected candidate for the Super Soldier formula, so he creates a super villain team. Not super villain, another team called Psionic that has some cool characters. And they battle to a standstill, and Gentech doesn't really turn them in. It kind of covers it up, so I'm waiting to see if they're covering up because they're going to do something shady, or that they're going to become allies of the New Warriors. Because I've not read any of this, so it's all new to me. So that's what's fun. They battle the Mad Thinker because the Mad Thinker tests them and aids Gentech in capturing them, which is fun. I like seeing the Mad Thinker in a comic. With his Adaptoid Primus, who has a personality, which is kind of cool. I'm not familiar with him. He was in Cap. There's a bird that he was in Cap, so I may check those issues out just to see. And then they battle a character I was really taken was Star Thief. Basically, he's a man in India who was zapped by some raised bee. Maybe we find out later what it was. And he was turned into this creature, half decaying flesh, half energy. His family was killed, and now he's trying to stop Stain International from sending waste into space. But we find out that they're not dumping it in space. They want to poison the Inhumans on the moon. This is when they're living in the blue area of the moon. So the team gets split up. Namorita, Nova, and Firestar are in space, while the other 3, Speedball, Night Thrasher, and Vance, are stuck on Earth trying to find a way to get to space. But the other 3 team up with the Inhumans, and you find out Star Thief is also one who wants to. He agrees with plan. He wants to blow up the blue area, but he flees. Their fight breaks out in Inhumans and New Warriors fighting Star Thief, but Star Thief ends up in the Watcher's house, and the Watcher's showing him the infinite possibilities out in space and in the multiverse. And there are 3 panels. I think they're from What If, so they may be from issues of comics. And Star Thief is like, wow, there's so much I was wrong. And he decides to stay with the Inhumans, and he comes back. And all along in this, we're seeing hints at this woman. She supposedly be Middle Eastern. She visits her own tomb. She knows one of these people, one of the kids. And I think maybe it's Nova, because I think it's going to lead into a story with the Sphinx. And I know that's a Nova villain, if I remember correctly. But see, again, I have not read this. And so I just want to talk about it overall. Art-wise, it's stunning. It's all 8 issues are great because it's either Mark Bagley and Williamson, Mark Bagley and Larry Mahlstadt, or Frenz and Sinnott. The writing is top of the line, super team writing from Fabian Nicieza and Tom Defalco. Okay? Well, Tom Defalco is just writing a Thor story, and he writes a great Thor story. But, I mean, Fabian Nicieza is great. I loved his Thunderbolts. I've loved everything he's read. Everything he's written that I've read, I've loved. I really should probably check out his X-Men. But if you've not read New Warriors, I would say jump in. This is really good. It's really good. So read New Warriors 1, then Thor 4:11, 4:12, and then New Warriors 2 through 6. It is well paced. It's a lot of action. Is it wordy compared to modern comics? Yeah, I don't care. I love it. Do they introduce themselves? Yes, but that's they have to do that every issue because you don't know if the person's read the, part of the philosophy back then is, you can't assume the reader has read the issue before and is going to read the issue after. I think in modern comics, they take that for granted. And I think this is the beginning of that turn. The 90s, I'm not a big fan of a lot of 90s comics. I think I will love this book. Because I think it's like his Thunderbolts. I read his Thunderbolts, and I loved every issue of it. And I started kind of with his, and then went back and got the trades of the first stuff. Because I did not jump on board with it, because I didn't know who Bagley was, because I hadn't read this. It's just, so, I'm Gonna do an episode about Thunderbolts. I'm gonna have a friend of mine's gonna come on in a couple weeks and talk about that, and I can't wait to do it. But if you like Nicieza and you like Bagley, you should read this. If you like Marvel, you really should read this. This is good 90s Marvel. Really good. And I really liked it. And I love this omnibus. I love omnibuses. I wish I could afford more. I have one in my box at the comic shop. It's not an omnibus, I guess. It's just a thick... it's a reprinting of the entire run of Aztec Ace from Eclipse. And... Daryl Banks from the Micronaut Project did the restoration of it. I'm looking for seeing his handiwork, and I can't wait to get it. I just got to put some pennies away to get it from the comic shop, at my comic shop at Velocity Comics in Richmond. But I got this trade from cheapgraphicnovels.com. It was a damaged it was a dent and ding copy. I can barely tell where it was. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's a lot of comic for the bucks, and I got it for a really good price, so check them out. So, that was just a quick overview. Not bad. 15 minutes or so for 6 issues. I recorded where I talked about each issue, and it was terrible, so I cut it. So I just kind of did an overview. Check it out. You got really 3 good stories or 4 good stories in those 8 issues, but it is kind of one arc. It gets them through their growing pains as a team. And we're going to see more. I think there is a Sphinx storyline coming up. I'm going to take a break from this and move on to something else for a few days. I've got other comics to read. I got Legion read to record on Tuesday, and I got Defenders to read on... it's another Avengers. An Avengers to read for Avengers Defenders War. So a lot of fun stuff, and I got a bunch of good comics. And I'll do, I think next, maybe Wednesday, I'm going to do a quick What Did I Read episode, because I'm hoping to record something for next weekend's drop. So I hope you're enjoying it. Please, folks, I'd love feedback. I'm setting up some stuff with new guests. I got a new guest to come in and talk about Secret 6, Gail Simone's Secret 6, and we're going to start with Villains United. I just reread it yesterday. Oh my God, it's good. I'm going to talk Origins of Legions with Jimbo. I have guested on A World is Fire again, and I discussed the first 3 issues of Freedom's Fighter with the amazing Billy D. Also check out his Monsters and Movies podcast. It's great. And also his Zany Haney. It's great. And I haven't listened to it yet, but it just dropped was the first issue. He and Marty Gray of Too Dangerous for a Girl blog cover Steel #1. So a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff coming up. So, and that I've luckily been asked to be a part of. So until then, folks, until you come back on Tuesday for Legion, just as I say, be smart, be safe, be kind, and read some comics.